You are very welcome back to the final part of the show. Trisha Lewis is with us. Trisha, can you remind us what's on the menu tonight?
We're doing some beef satay with basmati rice. Really simple.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we starting?
We're already starting a bit too hot, but it'll be fine. So we're making some beef satay, and it's really simple. It's one of these dishes that should take max about 15 minutes. Everything chopped, ready to rock.
Okay.
And it's perfect as well for slow cooking, batch cooking, and whatnot. So you're just going to add some oil to the pan, and then you're going to saute off your beef and your vegetables. You'll be adding your sauce and your peanuts, and that's it. Because nice food doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah, and do you, like for this, is there a cut of beef that you would like, or?
My favourite cut of beef, if I'm doing it in the wok, so there's two answers there. So if I'm doing it in the wok, I would use fillet because you're only cooking it for a short time.
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be too tough. But then if I was doing it in the slow cooker, I would use kind of maybe beef, like stewing beef would be perfect because you're doing it for a couple of hours.
Okay.
So it just depends on what you have in the fridge as well. And if you didn't have beef, you could use mushrooms or satay, or not satay, but prawns or chicken. You can change it up, you know, as you go along with the weeks.
For what you want to do. You can make this veg if you want. You can make it vegetarian or make it,
And the main thing is when you're cooking the beef, just make sure they're allowed to touch off each other, but they're not allowed to be up on top of each other.
Coronavirus!
Yes.
It's a
little bit of distancing inside in the pan because otherwise...
Social distancing.
I mean...
Because otherwise they'll start to stew and you don't know what could happen.
Like Jan, it all flowed out of her. This is your lockdown cookbook, man.
And then we're just going to add in some vegetables, but these can change up. If you broccoli, mange too, sugar snaps. So I'm using red peppers, a chilli, some carrots, spring onion and garlic. They all go in there now. Really easy.
Lovely.
And that's what I love about it. It's just good colours, fresh, flavoursome.
Yeah.
A variety
delicious.
of colours as well, which kind of, you know...
Yeah, and you know,
you.
I think you eat with your eyes as well when it's nice and colourful and bright and just, you know, and if you have a load of stuff, like sometimes at the start of the week, you go in and do your big weekly shop in Aldi and you could be picking up loads of things, and by the end of the week, you're like, I've used none of the vegetables. You can pop them all into kind of together and they'll work really well.
Okay. That is something we are guilty of, and that's why you're a big fan of batch cooking. To be like, if it's there, just do it all.
Much easier because you're less likely to kind of pretend that you're just, if you don't have a batch cooked, I think one meal of the day, you kind of convince yourself that you're better off not to have what you're planning to have, and you'll go, I'll go with something different.
Yeah.
So that's why it's handy to have the book with the batch cooking, get them done on a Sunday and just see, can you go from there.
Right.
Do you actually enjoy it, the batch cooking?
Love it.
Do you?
Love it. I find that, I don't know what it is, but when they're all like lined up like little soldiers, that I'm like, right, we're ready. Let's get into this army together. We can do this week in a calorie deficit.
Okay.
I can actually see her shouting at her veg. Big sponge, let's go on a Sunday.
But I actually love healthy cooking, and it was just always my portion sizes were wrong. It was just, I loved normal food, but it was way too big of a portion. I'm going to add in some coconut milk here. Then if you're like calorie saving, just always go for the lighter version. Then I have some peanut butter and soya sauce. And then if you're cooking rice, a lot of people kind of are like, how do you get rice properly? But what you do is, it's not like pasta. People immerse pasta in loads of water.
Yeah.
Rice is the opposite. You need a kind of a formula, so it's 2 to 1. You should be left with no water in the pan of rice. It should absorb it all perfectly.
Yeah.
And just wash it beforehand because that's what makes it stodgy.
Just keep an eye, because you don't want the rice sticking to the pot, do you?
No, you just keep stirring it, and always use a spatula. I was taught inside in college.
You wash it beforehand?
Yeah, because you know when it comes over, it'll be all in the bags and they're all kind of knocking off each other.
Yeah.
So a powder forms, and then that starts to cook, so it makes it really stodgy.
Okay, right.
So then we're just going to add in some peanut butter, and always going to go for the 100% nuts peanut butter. Peanut butter is high in calories, but it's good fats. And that's why you can have a little bit. So my motto is with cooking, you can have anything that you want, but you're not allowed to have everything you want. So just calm down with the portions and making sure it's not all in the same day.
But is that something that you've kind of, as you said there, it was your portion sizes? So you've just, it's like retraining your brain.
Yeah.
To kind of look at
to be
stuff
like
that.
Stop it. Back off.
But this is something you want to do for yourself, because if you take stuff out of your diet, if you're depriving yourself, you're probably not going to stick to something.
No, not at all. It's not sustainable, and often I would do that in the past. Like, I'm doing this slowly but surely in my own way now. In the past, I would be like, okay, I'm never having potatoes again. It's just my life. That's what I've chosen. And then 2 weeks later, I'd be like, oh, I had a lot of potatoes. You know, you kind of, if you restrict yourself and kind of have guilt and punishment around a new, healthier lifestyle, it doesn't have to be a diet. It can just be changing up the life. And, you know, I suppose you can lose weight, but you don't need to lose flavour ever.
Okay. I do love that about Irish people. It's not the chocolate, it's like, don't take the potatoes away.
Yeah, of all of the references I pick right now, it is going to be leprechauns and chocolate. They're both ours. You want my American accent now, Mern?
Yes, I actually do.
And this is how simple it is. So if you're under pressure and you're in from work, it can take 10 minutes. Just have everything ready, buy the things pre-chopped if you want to, and just pop it in. There is no excuses. You can batch cook and It's just gorgeous. Really, really one of those beautiful dishes.
It's kind of trying to create that love of cooking as well, though, isn't it? Because you look at it as a fun task. Like, it's not a task to you.
And I think that's the thing. Like, I would be a trained chef with years, but I still find cookbooks very daunting. I find them kind of a little bit like, where am I going to get all of these ingredients?
Yeah.
And am I just going to open this jar and use it once? So I base the book off of that. You can use the majority of the stuff in your cupboard already. Pistaches, spices. It's just about matching the proper ingredients together so that you don't need much other work with it, that the ingredients do the job.
Yeah, I know I've told Martin this before, that time that the first time I cooked a lasagna and I spent about 70 quid in it because I didn't know what to buy.
What was it?
I spent about 70 quid on my first lasagna that I ever made. I didn't know what to buy.
I love it.
And the recipe freaked me out so much that I just
and then
got
like
too
you
much
see
stuff.
like you see a teaspoon of oregano and you can't find it, but then in your head just use another herb and you're kind of traipse on it. It just makes it a task, whereas cooking can be really therapeutic and fun. It's just pare it back, go back to the simples and see what you can make from it.
You see, one of the things I get with recipe books is that they're telling you to cook. They give you the amount of ingredients that you need.
Yeah.
But you may be cooking for 2 or 3 people less than the book is recommending.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you spent €70 on a lasagna.
I'm exaggerating on the €70 before I get text messages or messages on Instagram, by the way.
Which is a really good point, because sometimes you'll see it and it serves 12 or serves 10 or serves 6. And a lot of people are cooking for themselves and maybe one other person. So the book has every recipe is 4 people. So you can either divide it by 2 and have it for 2 days or just split it between 2 people in one night. Because sometimes people don't want to batch cook. People don't like reheating dinners sometimes, and I get that.
Yeah.
Do you know, so it's one of those, I suppose it's catch-22. You have to choose which one you want to do.
Okay, we've got about a minute.
Fabulous. So what we're going to do on the top is I'm just going to add some nice toasted peanuts, just for a bit of crunch. Not too many of them again, because you need to just keep an eye on that. Little bit of spring onions. And then you can serve this in the middle of the table and away it goes. And the wonderful thing is it's gluten-free and you can make it vegan by just taking the beef out. There's no fish sauce, shrimp paste, nothing like that in it. So it's a really basic satay, but I think it's a good one. Okay, and I'm very, very confident that one.
It's in the book. It's in the book. It's a good one.
It's in the book.
You're going to play it up for us there now.
I will, of course.
We're all there with the lovely rice and everything there. Sorry.
Okay, remember 2 to 1 with the rice and then you're grand.
Exactly, and wash the rice. Give it a shower.
Okay.
Wash the rice.
Okay, Marie got in touch to say, great to see Dr. Alex on the show again. Really interesting to hear what we should look for in sun cream. Well, I'll have to check the date on my SPF now.
And Linda said, Janet's such a breath of fresh air. I completely relate to her poem, particularly the bit about teaching roll-on summer holidays. Can we have a look at what Trisha has for us there? Trisha Lewis, everybody.
Where's the camera?
Beat the bulge. That's in her brand new cookbook.
The 21-day reset.
21-day reset, and that's all we've got time for tonight.